Greetings, vinyl community, and welcome to VC Friday, where today we're taking a trip back to the year 1968, when rock music was perhaps turning a little darker than it had been during the Summer of Love, though the psychedelic flag was still flying. And it was the year of the White Album and Beggar's Banquet, the year of Electric Ladyland and Wheels of Fire. It was the year of Yummy, 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 I've Got Love in My Tummy, and the year of my favorite album by the Moody Blues, In Search of the Lost Chord. Now, Days of Future Past, the previous album to this one, had been the Moody Blues' first album with the classic lineup. And they knew they had created something special. Days of Future Past is very much an album for the ages. And it was a daring experiment to work with a full symphony orchestra. But for the follow-up, the Moody Blues were determined to create something just as sonically sophisticated as Days of Future Past, but to play all the instruments themselves. And so we have credits on the album for quite an arsenal of musical instruments. Justin Hayward plays 12-string guitar, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, sitar, tablas, piano, mellotron, bass guitar, harpsichord, percussion, and vocals. Mike Pinder plays mellotrons, piano, harpsichord, cello, acoustic guitar, bass guitar, and auto harp. John Lodge plays bass guitar, cello, tambourine, snare drum, acoustic guitar, and vocals. Ray Thomas is on C flute, alto flute, soprano saxophone, and vocals. And Graham Edge, drums, timpani, tambourine, tablas, and piano. That may not even be an exhaustive list. There's a story that Ray Thomas was assigned a part to be played on the oboe. And as Ray Thomas put it, I'd never even seen a bloody oboe before. But he was given one and given a lunch hour to learn to play his part. And they say his lips were bleeding by the time they came back to hear him do it, but he learned the part. I don't know if it's on this album because I don't even detect any oboe part on the album, but that's the story. Meanwhile, John Lodge, in learning to play the cello, didn't actually know how to tune a cello, so he tuned it the same as the strings on his bass guitar, just an octave up. So his C string would have been tuned up 2 whole steps to E, his G string would have been tuned up 1 whole step, his D string would have been correct, and his A string would have been tuned down a step to G. The bulk of the album was recorded in May and June of 1968 at Decca's Studios in the East Hampstead region of London. And the studios had 3 main studios. Studio 3 was the big room that was used for orchestras, and Studio 2 was the small room that was where rock groups, pop groups were expected to record. So that was kind of where the Moody Blues were expected to go, but they found that Studio 1 at the time was standing idle. So they were able to cut a deal with the boss at Decca, Sir Edward Lewis, to have exclusive use of Studio 1 while they recorded the album. This gave them a lot of scope to do a lot of sonic experimentation, to take extended hours of recording, and just do a whole hell of a lot of work to produce a very layered and sophisticated album that matches the orchestral grandeur of Days of Future Past without an orchestra. 2 of the most important weapons in the Moody Blues instrumental arsenal were Ray Thomas's flute, which is very prominent throughout the album, and Mike Pinder's mellotron. Mike Pinder had worked before the Moody Blues for Streetly Electronics, the manufacturers of the Mellotron, so he was able to get a deal on purchasing the instrument. And his Mellotron, the Mark II, was an instrument with two keyboards side by side. The left-hand keyboard was meant to be used for accompaniment, so it was factory loaded with rhythm tracks and sound effects, while the right-hand keyboard was factory loaded with the sounds that we really associate with the Mellotron, the strings, the brass, the flutes, and the choir. Well, Mike Pinder dumped the rhythm tracks and sound effects tapes that are preloaded into the Mellotron and loaded his with more of the same tapes that you get on the right-hand keyboard. That allowed him to have a more full organ-like sound from the Mellotron and not just be playing melodic parts, but full chordal parts. He also developed a technique of manipulating the tuning knob, producing eerie swoops and glissandos, pitch changes that were very unique in music at this time. So Mike Pinder was kind of the most musically experimental voice on this album, and that's one of the important ways that he expressed that. Now, in keeping with the spirit of the age, the Moody Blues had become interested in meditation and in Eastern mysticism and in good old lysergic acid diethylamide. So the theme of the album, and this album does indeed have a theme following the precedent of Days of Future Past, the band decided to have a concept behind the album, something that they would continue to do through much of their career. And the concept was one of exploration, of questing for deeper meanings, of searching for the lost chord. And the chord can be a symbol of many things in life, and that's made explicit in the lyrics towards the later portions of this album. All 5 members of the Moodies contribute compositionally to the album, as usual, but the album seems to be split. Even though it's a very coherent listening experience, side 1 is devoted to songs by John Lodge and Ray Thomas, and side 2 is songs by Justin Hayward and Mike Pinder. However, on both sides, or I should say on each side, we get one poem written by Graham Edge. Graham Edge, since as the drummer, is the one member who doesn't play any melody instruments. He was limited in what he could contribute as far as songwriting, so most Moody Blues albums feature poems by Graham Edge, usually spoken by Mike Pinder because someone decided that his voice was better, but Graham Edge's voice is fine, and indeed he starts off the album with a recitation of his own poem, Departure, a song about the senses and a song with a theme of emergence. There are images of flowers bursting up through the pavement and reaching for the sun, and setting the theme of reaching, of questing, of searching that this album would be concerned with. The proceedings kick off in earnest with Ride My Seesaw, written by John Lodge, easily the most rocking thing on the album, featuring massive vocal harmonies, a galloping beat augmented by prominent tambourine, and very tasty lead guitar from Justin Hayward on the Telecaster. The chord movement is interesting in its avoidance of cliche. There's a very unexpected move when they shift from the C major key of the main song to the key of D minor for the bridge. And the bridge also contrasts by being without lyrics. It's just wordless vocal harmonies. Definitely a little songwriting cue taken from the Beatles, and that's not the last time we'll detect a little Beatles influence on this album. Lyrically, the song expresses the freedom felt by John Lodge on leaving school, but then also the disappointment that maybe that's not everything, that maybe there's more to life. So there's a theme of dissatisfaction. Left school with a first-class pass, started work but as second class. School taught 1 and 1 is 2, but by now that answer just ain't true. Actually, John, it is. The next song really dives into the theme of exploration. Dr. Livingstone, I presume, written by Ray Thomas, name checks famous explorers, Captain Scott, Christopher Columbus, and of course David Livingstone, who explored the Antarctic, the Americas, and Africa, respectively. And this is a song that really screams Ray Thomas, because he loved to do these kind of childlike, bouncy songs. On Days of Future Past, there was Another Morning, and later he would do Nice to Be Here. They just have that wonderful March of the Puppets kind of feel. The bouncy beat in the background of this, it just reminds me of a wind-up toy bear beating on a drum. The ending of the song is again very Beatlesque. A coda featuring a vamp in G major with mellotron stabs that kind of presage an interesting contrast that will happen with the next song. As the whimsical Dr. Livingstone, I presume, fades out, the emphatic key of G major segues into a spooky atmosphere in the key of G minor, with dark mellotron sounds and whispering percussion, and the song House of Four Doors. This is a song that again has some interesting major-minor contrast, aside from the contrast between the ending of the previous song and the beginning of this. It's a song that has dark minor key verses giving way to bright major key choruses. And there are, as the title suggests, 4 doors opened in the course of the song. And that is signaled with a very obvious sound effect. And behind each door we hear a different musical atmosphere. Behind the first door, there's a kind of medieval sound with Spanish guitar and flutes. Behind the second door, a Baroque sound with harpsichord and strings. Behind the third door, a huge, lush, romantic, grandiose orchestral sound that's basically a pastiche of the first piano concerto by Tchaikovsky, the introduction with those big chords going up in octaves. And it's almost a parody of grandiosity. And behind the fourth door, well, apparently there's the Moody Blues, because it leads into the next song. And the theme is discovery. The next thing we hear after the fourth door is opened is Ray Thomas's Legend of a Mind, the song with the famous declaration that Timothy Leary's dead. No, he's only outside looking in. Apparently the Moody Blues would spend some time with Timothy Leary later in 1968 and find that he was amused by the song. This is the most epic song on the album, the lengthiest, and one that incorporates lots of those mellotron tricks from Mike Pinder. The swoops appear all over. The song has a strong feeling of flight. Ray Thomas interpreted astral planes as being literal planes that one could fly on, and sings about them accordingly. More Beatlesque moments when a sort of bumptious section gives way to a few bars of waltz time. It really irresistibly recalls a similar event in We Can Work It Out. The theme is realization. It's mind expansion. The song incorporates those queasy mellotron swoops, some kind of bluegrass-like guitar picking, and an extended instrumental passage featuring flute, mellotron, and some delicate cymbal work from Graham Edge. And there's a great outro where the mellotron just gives the feeling of soaring through the sky. And side one ends with the reprise of House of Four Doors, House of Four Doors Part 2, in which it is revealed that behind the fourth door there was nothing at all. And we have to find that answer within ourselves. The Moody Blues did make it explicit that they didn't want to provide any answers or any declarations of what the answer to the mystery of life might be. They just want to make people think about it. Side 2 opens with the album's first Justin Hayward song, Voices in the Sky, also released as the album's first single. The Voices in the Sky aren't necessarily mystical because they come from a bluebird. They come from a nightingale. Birds in the sky. Justin looks to the birds, he looks to an old man, he looks to children to find out from their experiences. And the theme is wisdom. And the tabla on this song provides a strong Indian flavor that will be very pervasive on this side of the album. Next up, Mike Pinder gets supremely psychedelic with his song, The Best Way to Travel, in which he reveals that we can get high as a kite if we want to, faster than light if we want to. The song boasts a weird electronic interlude with mellotron and strange twittering sounds, and ends up with these nagging electronic beeps appearing rhythmically throughout the last half of the song. It's a song about mental journey with a theme of transcendence. Visions of Paradise is a collaborative songwriting effort from Justin Hayward and Ray Thomas, with a very strong Indian feel with sitar and tabla, as well as acoustic guitar, and once again, a really well-handled transition between major and minor key sections. The song is in C major, with a strong emphasis on the third of the scale, which is the note E. Well, the bridge of the song transitions to E minor. Very nice transition chromatically, both in and out of that section. Again, just wonderful songwriting craft, and not just stringing some chords together to make a song. And the theme is vision. Another Justin Hayward song follows, The Actor, and this is the most down-to-earth song on the album, lyrically. We're getting down to earth as we approach the cosmic climax of the album, but this is the closest thing to a love song on the album, where maybe the lost chord is the sound I've heard in your hello. It's a song with a theme of man's place in the world. It's a song of everyday life, and we are advised to put out our problems with the cat. Where's that cat anyway? Next comes Graham Edge's poem, The Word, which addresses the lost chord itself by exploring the vibrations in the universe that are beyond human senses. He specifically mentions infrared, ultraviolet, and X-ray, and wonders what else might be vibrating in our garden universe. And this is Graham Edge's poem, this time recited by Mike Pinder, who composed the grand finale that answers the question of the chord, the word, and the word is Om. An exquisitely beautiful Mike Pinder composition. Again, a very strong Indian feeling with flute and sitar and mellotron and a clashy sounding cymbal popping up in the background, and lush vocal choruses of Om and Heaven. There's a long Indian tabla and sitar break. The theme is perfect peace. The theme is serenity. Painter Phil Travers was given the task of creating an album cover that would represent the topic of meditation, and the In Search of the Lost Chord cover depicts a spirit transcending the gross world. Inside, the Moody Blues helpfully provide a yantra, which is like a mandala but more basic, and you can meditate on that while listening to all that wonderful psychedelic music, and you'll probably just trip out beyond the third bardo. In Search of the Lost Chord was released in July 1968 and reached number 5 in the UK charts, number 23 in the USA. And that's In Search of the Lost Chord. Thank you very much for watching. Be well. I will talk with you again soon. Bye-bye for now.